Hey everybody, Tony Phelan here with CompetitionX, and today on the workbench we've got Tamiya's brand new touring car, the TA08 Pro Competition TC. And this vehicle is a little different than some of their previous vehicles. It does use parts from the 420, it uses the diffs and some suspension parts. It is a dual belt design. It has like a double A-arm suspension similar to the TC01. It has a very narrow chassis that's kind of V-step. The sides are steps, so as the car leans, it doesn't touch down. And like the shocks are super, they use the super short, big bore shocks, but they're laid down quite a bit. So there's a lot going on with this vehicle. We're excited to get it out of the box, which we'll do in just a second over there. But before we do, we're going to go over some of the other parts that we're going to be including in this build. The first thing is Tamiya's Wurks body. Now this is one of the bodies that we just kind of had laying around in the shop. It's already pre-painted, so I just figured I'd use one of these. We do have to spend the 4 hours and put the stickers on, but that shouldn't be too bad. We will also be using a set of Solaris tires. I think these are 36s. These will be great for Cal Raceway where we'll be running the car. And then as far as electronics, we have a full complement of R1 Wurks products. We have their Digital 3 Superstock ESC. We have a 6,000 milliamp 120C LiPo pack. One of their new aluminum cased fans to keep things cool. And then a 17.5, this is a V21S. It's a line sensor with a handpick stator. It's like super duper. Motor, check out the case. It's pretty sweet in case, right? It's even got a little R1 sticker or handle. Open it up. And then it has the motor inside and then the resistance sheet that they print out for each motor. So we'll be using that in here, 17.5 motor. We'll also be using a R1 Wurks servo, shorty servo. It hasn't been released yet. It should be out this week, and then they'll send us one when we get it, and we can include it in this car. But other than that, this is what we're using. So let's get this kit over to the bench, see what's inside the box. All right, so there's the box of the TA08 Pro. See, it's a two-belt design. It's got a nice mechanical drawing of the car there. The usual stuff on the side here, telling you, some call-outs. And then, of course, the carrying handle, so you can use this box later on down the line to carry your car around if you want. And inside. So here is the actual sheet that kind of runs on the end here. Kind of gives you a little bit more information about the car. Kind of what you need in Japanese, and then, of course, some of the option parts. Now, we do have some of the option parts already. We have the front and rear carbon shock towers. We are adding those to the build. We do have the front and rear anti-roll bars. And we do have the aluminum servo mount. So we'll be adding all three of these to the build. All right. So we're just going to move the box out of the way. The first thing we're going to get to is the chassis. Now, I usually pull these things apart, these bags apart, but because of all the little staples, I don't want staples all over the place. So here is the chassis. See, it's a very narrow chassis. You kind of see the steps on the side here. And this is by looking at this little thing here, you have a GF and a CF. With the arrow pointed to the CF, this is the carbon chassis. The other one would be glass filled. So it is a carbon chassis. It's quite the nice mold. Okay, the next bag is going to be the wheels. The TA08 Pro does not come with tires, but it does come with wheels. These are some very nice spoked wheels. We won't be using these because, again, we're going to be using the pre-mounted Solaris wheels and tires. But I will use these for something because those are good-looking wheels. Tamiya always has really good-looking wheels. Then we have the antenna tube. Next is the plastic bag. And we're going to go through each bag independently here. I got to open these anyway, so we might as well do them now. This looks like the new front bumper. And the body mounts, and this looks like maybe a body mount support. Don't really need to look at these. This is like shock parts. The upper eyelets, lower eyelets, and then of course the spring retainers. Got little holes drilled in them to kind of help lighten them up a little bit. And some that aren't. Since these are big bore shocks, these look a little bit bigger round, so probably these are the ones we'll be using. 2 trees of those, obviously for 4 shocks. The next bag has what looks to be the pulleys, hexes. These look like the bulkhead mounts, the bulkhead caps, shock towers attached there. Maybe battery tie downs. Not sure what those are. Those are interesting pieces. Got a couple extra ones. And then a bunch of shims as well. 2 trees of those. So we have another front bumper here, as well as looks like the upper part of the bumper. And then, oh, so this vehicle does have, you can kind of see the body mounts are kind of offset, and those are offset. You can mount these forward or back, and that actually changes, that'll actually move the body forward or back on the car to help with aero. So that's kind of an interesting design. Some shims. Not sure what this guy is. Some kind of brace maybe. Maybe some kind of brace for the front body mount. And then we have the shock towers, which are pretty tiny little towers, but they're plastic. Some other parts there. This looks like maybe, so I think this, similar to the TA07 where it had that motor, kind of the motor protection off the end there to protect the sensor wire. I think this mounts under the motor and the motor sits here on the chassis. So maybe like that. The plastic servo mount. Looks like the gear, the spur gear cover. This may be the steering rack. Arm mounts maybe. And then here are the steering parts. These are the 420 steering parts. With an optional piece here, you can put a carbon piece here instead of this plastic. But this looks like carbon plastic. Carbon infused plastic based on the color. And this car uses it uses the steering for the front, but also steering for the rear with turnbuckles adjusting the rear toe. So I think that some guys usually call it like the active rear steering or something. So there's that. And then we have the suspension arms. Again, this is probably the front and rear lower suspension arms. And these are the uppers. So you got 2 trees of those. These I think are carbon infused also. Yeah, see the, oh, these are glass. You can see the GF and the CF. I don't know if you can see how well you can see that in the arrow. Arrow pointed to the GF. So these are glass filled. These are not carbon. I'm sure there'll be glass filled or carbon filled options down the line. Here are the suspension pills for the arm mounts. These slide in, your hinge pin goes in there, and then you can make adjustments to the tuning of the suspension based on these pills, the location of the mount there. These are the diff adjustment, I guess, rings. Bearing goes in here, diff goes through there, and then based on your clocking, you can loosen or tighten the belts. I'm not sure what these are. Yeah, I don't know what those are. Those are interesting. Yeah, both for front and rear. And then we have all the arm mounts. 1D, 1A. So these look to be similar to what Tamiya has always used for their arm mounts, which means if you have aluminum arm mounts already, you can probably swap them out in place of these. Yeah, they do mount the same. Oh. Or not. I'm not sure, because these pills do not go in there. So we'll have to figure out how that works. Maybe the pills go in the arms themselves. No. I don't know where those goes. Okay, we'll have to figure that out. Anyway, arm mounts and shims. Next thing up are our front and rear drive belts. Standard equipment drive belts. And then the hardware bag. So these are the internal diff parts. Sun gears, satellite gears, and then cross bars, cross pins. An aluminum motor mount. It's a nice thick aluminum motor mount. Sure, there'll be an upgrade part that'll have all the cuts in them, the fins to lighten it up. Nice piece there. Your servo saver parts. The front bumper. And the front bumper has these interesting little pop outs. There's a bunch from there. Supposedly you can use these to tune the air going into the car. I'm not sure how that works, but we're definitely going to give that a try. And then your Tamiya tools. Who doesn't have like 100 of these things? Allen wrenches, Tamiya turnbuckle wrench, and of course their grease. The A bag. Looks like it has turnbuckles in there, hinge pins, some hardware. It does use the hex hardware. It does not use the JIS screws, which is nice. Looks like some inserts in there as well. The B bag. Let's just go ahead and open this one up. Looks like there's a lot going on in here. The B bag has your differentials. Two differentials. These are oil-filled differentials. Spur gears comes with two. Comes with a mod 6 and a mod 4 or 48 pitch, 64 pitch. It's a little bit different than 48 and 64, but you could swap those out if you don't want to use these. If you use these, you will need to use Tamiya mod 4 or mod 6 pinion gears. It does come with full ball bearings, and it looks like bushings. Those might be for something like the steering or something. So you can always replace those with bearings if you want. Some of the hardware, blue aluminum hardware in there, as well as more of the hex head screws. Lightweight, oh no, these are not lightweight. These are standard out drives for the diffs. Some pillow balls in there as well. The gaskets for the diffs. And, oh, look at these, blue O-rings. I haven't seen blue O-rings before. They're usually black or red, so maybe these are something new. Nice O-rings. Some shims, and then of course more mounting hardware. Now, I understand that it does. So the ball ends are not your typical ball ends. These are what they call broached ball ends. It has a hole in the top that allows you to use your I think it's a 2.0. What is this guy here? 2.0 to go in there so you can screw them in and out. So you don't actually have to have that Tamiya tool to turn them in and out. It's a nice addition. That's kind of a racer option. It's a nice addition. And then, oh, look at that. They give you some thick fluid. So this must be for, yeah, that's your shock. So this must be for the diffs. So this probably goes in the back. I don't know what weight that is. And this goes in the front. I'm going to guess that it's something pretty thick. We'll check that out when we actually get to the manual. There's that. I'm going to put this over there. BC. C is some turnbuckles. Looks like some dry bones. Oh, it's all of the drive line there. Oh, the rear dog bones are aluminum. Very nice. More bearings. Blue hardware. These are not broached. Those are standard. So you can see the difference there. Those you have to actually use that Tamiya tool to drive in there, or I think it's a 5.0 nut washer or nut driver. The D bag. Yeah, it's always funny. It's your shocks, your short springs, your short shock bodies. We'll look at these real quick. These are really short. So there's your shock shafts. They're so small. All three springs look like they're greens. There's no marking on these. Oh yeah, they're all green. Pistons, 4-hole pistons, bladders, and there's your shocks, the bodies, the collars, and the spring retainer there. They're short little guys, aren't they? All these, which are now, all the E-clips, which are now out of the packaging. One moment, please, while I make sure I don't lose any of those. All of the shock ball ends here. And then your fluid. I'm not sure what weight fluid this is, but we'll probably put in something else in other than that. Oh, and then this right here. Oh, anti-wear grease. This stuff is excellent for keeping the wear down on stuff like your out drives and dog bones. Use that stuff, definitely. And then finally the E-bag, which has foam padding, double-sided tape. It's like a servo in there, no servo, a pinion in there, your lock washers for the wheels, servo saver hardware, body clips, wheel nut pins, some of the other additional hardware in there. Okay. TA08 Pro sticker sheet. And then, of course, the manual. It takes you through all the step-by-step of building this car. All right. There you have it. Okay, so there you have it. The unboxing of Tamiya's TA08 Pro 4-wheel drive competition level touring car chassis. Now we're going to be doing a full online build of this like we do with all our vehicles, showing you how to put all the parts on the car, the electronics installed, wheels and tires, body, and all that kind of good stuff. And then we're going to get it out to the track so you can see it actually running. We may also be doing some sort of follow-up article, TCS article, on how to get this car to the track, maybe a couple setups or something like that. But to make sure you stay connected and stay informed, please make sure you subscribe to the channel. And if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. It really helps the channel out a lot. All right, well, thank you very much, and we'll see you at the track.